And we're going to go in order of the Misty numbers, and I'm going to open it up with Charlie Neel, Misty 2-2, who was in the second generation of Misty. Charlie, how about bringing us up? Tell us how it got started, why it got started, the results of Bud Day's shoot down and your shoot down.
I'm going to stand up because I know somebody's going to ask me. Right away. Go ahead. I was in the second tranche, if you will, of Misty 2-2. Bud was gone when I joined the Misties, but I had been hanging around with the Misties like Grambling around Richmond, because as soon as somebody bailed out, I wanted to be the next one to take their place. And that's sort of the way it went. Yes, we were all volunteers. People unvolunteered after a mission or two and decided they didn't really sign up to do that. They'd rather go back and do close air support with napalm and fragmentation bombs. A lot safer. My impressions of the first days were that we were very disorganized, but we were learning fast. And when we lost Bud, who, by the way, if you don't know, is the most heavily decorated living American. The only dead American more decorated was Dugout Doug MacArthur, if anybody heard of him. But Bud is my ideal, my true hero, my personal hero, and I'm delighted to be able to stand in for him today. We started the operation by putting maps up on the wall and wondering if we could get some intel out of 7th Air Force to tell us what we're supposed to be looking for and where it might be. And in fact, we discovered that we were giving 7th Air Force, that's headquartered in Saigon, we were giving them more intel than they could give us. For example, our first missions up there, summer of '67, we're telling them, you've got trains operating in Route Pack 1. They said, oh, no, we knocked those out in '65. So somebody said, well, I'll take my camera up there and I'll take a picture of them. And they did, and they were there. And what they were doing was hiding the rails at night or in the daytime and then putting them up on logs and rocks and things like that during the day. And they were, in fact, running a railroad up there. And we started coming back with intel like that to 7th Air Force. They started buying us cameras and giving us tankers so that we could go up there and stay longer. Those were the very early days. And just to give you an idea then how we didn't go in there doing all of the things we were doing 2 months after Misty started. It really grew from the very beginning. It grew into a serious mission. We had our own frags. We had fighters frag to us. But many times, as Shep said, when the weather was bad, we'd have a bunch of thuds come down from Route Pack 6 from Hanoi, and they'd say, hey, Misty, what have you got for us today? And we'd say, we got a whole bunch of 57s and 85s and 37 millimeters down here, and they must be protecting something. So we're going to go up in there and stir them up for you so you can see them, and you go in there and kill them all. And that's sort of the way we thought about it. We're a bunch of warriors, trying to be warriors, and what was really happening is we were just guys that wanted to march to the sound of cannon. And that's sort of the way most of us were. What we found out, ultimately, when we came back and licked our wounds and started studying the post-Vietnam era, we realized that we were swatting the bees after they're out of the hive, when what we should have done was blow up the hive being where the ships came into Haiphong and where the trains came in from China. But we weren't allowed to do that. It wasn't politically correct to do so, and it was not the national strategy. One other thing I'll say, one of the pictures that was up there that I was in was a picture of Guy Gruters. Guy was my backseater when I got shot down near Hanoi. 2 missions later, Guy got shot down again, not far from where we got shot down the first time, and he ended up helping rescue his classmate, Lance Saijan, Medal of Honor winner who now has a dorm named after him at the Air Force Academy. So Guy spent 5.5 years in Apokie, got to know Bud pretty well, but I got to be his escort because we had an assigned officer to each returning prisoner of war, and it was one of the most marvelous, rewarding experiences of my career, and just an adjunct to Misty. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Charlie had a very exciting time when he got shot down floating in a raft right offshore and being shelled by the shore batteries as he was waiting to get picked up out there, and it's covered in the book Bury Us Upside Down, which I think you'll find the story very enjoyable if you get the book. Give us your message that you learned from Misty that would be important to today's Air Force and maybe even the nation. Charlie?
In my short speech to you, I think I mentioned a couple of things that still are burrs under my saddle after all these years. One is that we put colonels in charge of making decisions, but they had to go higher before they could really make a decision. Two of those pictures that you saw of the trucks all stacked up against each other, bumper to bumper, on Christmas Day, I took. And I called the Airborne Battlefield Command and Control Center and said, we've got trucks out here. You know, we go out and chase 1 or 2 trucks all day if we didn't have anything hotter. We've got hundreds of trucks lined up bumper to bumper, absolutely stalled, waiting for ferry crossings, waiting for this, waiting for that. Give me everything you've got with a weapon on it, feet wet, off Dong Hoi at X-ray Delta 684257, and tell them to just hold in flights of 16. I'll take them in and put them in different places, and from then on, they won't have any problem finding the target because they'll have secondary explosions and fires going up all over the place. Well, this went on. I went back out to the tanker, came back around, looked around a little more, found some more places where they had a lot of trucks, and then called Cricket Control and said, well, I'm ready. Where are they? What do you mean you're ready? I said, all of those airplanes that I asked for you to frag up here on Christmas Day when they're not doing anything, where are they? Well, we haven't seen anything up there. We've had a couple of movers over on the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Laos, and we've expended all of our airplanes. We don't have any for you. And I said, well, why not, Colonel? And he said, well, we're not sure about when the bombing pause ends. You know, it's 1800, but we don't know if that's 1800 hours in Saigon or 1,800 hours in Hanoi, or 1,800 hours subtracting a certain number of hours from Greenwich Mean Time. We're just not sure when this thing's going to stop. I said, it's getting dark, and we're missing the truck kill of the... You'll kill more trucks in the next 30 minutes than we have killed since we started the Misties in June. Well, geez, I'm really sorry, Misty, but we just don't have any assets. Anyway, we ended up finally scrambling the close air support guys out of Da Nang. A pair of F-4s all loaded down with a variety of stuff. We ended up killing 3 trucks. I killed 2 with strafe and rockets, and the F-4s out of Da Nang killed 1. And that was the total BDA, bomb damage assessment, for all of those trucks that were scattered out up there. So I've got a real problem with these intermediate people that are able to take information and unable to convert it because they don't have the authority to do so. The other one is intel. Our best guys in the Misty organization were a couple of hot, really highly motivated intel officers. They had a hard time getting intel at 7th Air Force Headquarters to believe anything we told them. And I mentioned the part about finally taking cameras up there to show them what we were seeing. And we ended up sending them more intel than we could ever get out of them, because guess why they couldn't give us any intel? We didn't have a need to know. It was too secret. That's what I learned.